All right, here we go. Happy Sunday, everybody. Hope you had a good weekend and you're enjoying your football and your brunch or whatever it is you do on Sunday. This November 15th. I am Ed Carbazel for MMAnews.com. You can follow me on Twitter at Carbazel. And we're going to be looking back at the 4 nights of combat sports that began on Veterans Day, Wednesday, with the XFC 43 event. And then we had Bellator 252 on Thursday, some BKFC, which we didn't really cover that on the website, but we have covered BKFC, Bare Knuckle Fighting Champions, had their 14th event, and there was there's a crazy, I forget, was it like 4-second KO? I'll try to find that as I bring it up, but and then we had the UFC on ESPN plus 41 or UFC Vegas hashtag 14. So we'll be looking back at all that. And this will always, as always, lives on the MMAnews.com YouTube channel. So make sure you like and subscribe to the channel for more content. We've got interviews with Max Griffith after the event from a couple of weeks ago. Cole Shelton spoke to him. Stephen Wonderboy Thompson with James Lynch. So make sure you like and subscribe to the channel if you want to watch those videos and see everything else that we got coming. So let us get into it. So we'll start off with the UFC event because, that's most fresh in everyone's minds. The card was it 9 fights? 1, 2, 3, 4. You can check the results. We have them up as always over at MMAnews.com. Let me bring them up so you guys can look at them with me. Here we go. Because we only had 2 finishes, if I remember correctly. The awesome KO from Chaos Williams and Sean Strickland's TKO, right? And no submissions, mostly decisions, unanimous or split. Speaking of decisions, I guess we should get right into the the main event. First of all, the fact that Paul Felder went 5 rounds on about as many days' notice, 5 days' notice, made weight. He said in his post-fight interview that he cut 22 pounds in about 3-4 days. So, and if you watch any of the media leading up to the event, it's you could tell he was being 100% professional. And what's the craziest thing is, I mean, this says a lot about maybe something younger fighters can look at, and the future stars of MMA. There's something to be said about taking a break, giving your body some rest, especially when the years get on and you get older and stuff like that. Paul Felder, even though he lost again a split decision, which it looks like Vegas had a weird night officiating overall. When you look at what went on as far as combat sports go last night in Vegas, because there was what happened with Top Rank Boxing on the card that was on ESPN last night. But anyway, we'll focus back on Vegas. There was that one. It was a split decision. Even Felder kind of made a remark or a face about the 48-47 for him from Chris Lee, and I don't know. A lot of people had their opinions about it. Maybe he was just trying to give Felder throw Felder a bone after coming in on short notice and performing for 5 full rounds. But to me, what stood out to me was the fact that he his spirits couldn't be better, and he gave a really cool post-fight interview to Michael Bisping and Megan O'Leary, and he kind of just had the same message about there's no reason to just what am I looking for here? He just seemed super positive. The break that he took, he said afterward that he hadn't stepped in an MMA cage in 4 months, and he had just been training for triathlon or something he's doing in March or May, And there's something to be said for giving your body some rest, especially when you're in the sport as long as he's been in. So like the younger guys can do these quick turnarounds, but there's something to be said for taking a step away and just resetting your mind in anything in life, not just fighting or in MMA and stuff like that. But I mean, he came back refreshed and he's happy. And as for all the retirement talk that was going on before, it looked like it's gone now because he said he's not going anywhere. And he had a message to our folks that miss weight and stuff like that. He was kind of just like get your stuff together and let's let's get out here and take the opportunities we're given, especially when you choose the life of a fighter in a promotion like the biggest promotion at least in the United States, UFC, and probably the world too, with everything they're going with Fight Island and stuff like that. I mean, UFC's obviously been kind of like the front runner to show the other promotions on how to move forward and stuff like that. So that's something to be said for him, just to send that message out there to kind of like let's get out there and do it. And similarly, in the post-fight, Rafael dos Anjos, he called for Conor McGregor, which I found interesting, because that was a fight that when as Conor McGregor was coming up, that was kind of like a fight that everybody was excited about and we didn't get. And Rafael dos Anjos kind of kept that message out there, like the fight to be made is him and Conor McGregor, especially so if the fight with him, McGregor and Poirier, for some reason doesn't happen, because I actually don't know where we left off on that. I know Dana White said that Poirier's side is signed and ready to go, and they were just waiting on Conor, and that was on Wednesday or Tuesday that I saw that. But so his reasoning behind that was with the potential exit of Khabib, which Khabib announced his retirement at the 254. He pointed out a good argument for having that fight happen, which was, if you look at the other guys, they're both kind of like they're both the other guys that are ranked up there are guys that are that have held interim titles. The only ones that have been like champions as far as like having not have it the interim, and kind of did, I think, right, when he fought, because Chad Mendes stepped in, if I'm going back and remembering correctly, when Dos Anjos had to pull out due to injury, which he had never done in his career. I mean, if you look at his list of names, I think Luke Thomas went on his Wikipedia and showed the list of the guys. He usually is ready to fight anybody. So the argument for it is that just Conor McGregor and himself have been the guys that have held the strap without for a time to be like undisputed in that weight class. So for 155, so that was featherweight. So 155, that was a featherweight with the thing with Chad Mendes. So he's right, because he did beat McGregor beat Eddie Alvarez for the title in at UFC 205, which we just celebrated the anniversary of that, literally like this past week or weekend or something like that. This month definitely, because November's usually when UFC comes to Madison Square Garden, but unfortunately with this COVID nonsense, we probably won't see them out this way for a while. So he's right, and I think that's a fight folks would like to see. They're both Dos Anjos been fighting for a while, so maybe he just wants to get that out. It's something that bothers him that he had to pull out because he was injured. I remember it was like a foot injury, something with his ankle. So maybe he just wants to kind of correct that part of his combat sports history. And for McGregor, it was a fight that it was a really challenging fight, and I think it'd be a nice fight for McGregor too. So I mean, there's got to be something going on there. I don't even know if there's anything up with that. I know McGregor said he's down for something because he wants to fight. I'm bringing up Twitter now just to see if there's any updates as I record this early on Sunday. Folks are already making their way home, and I know Tuesdays is when the rankings get updated and, new fights are announced and made Tuesday, Wednesday of the following week. So I'm just bringing up Twitter to make sure I'm not missing out on anything here. But yeah, I don't think that's a bad idea. It'd be nice to see that fight. We didn't. It's like kind of like Rumble Johnson and John Jones. We always thought we'd kind of get that, and we never got it. So it's one of those things that I think everybody could get on board for if it does happen. And then obviously this Chaos Williams, when he knocked out 30 seconds of round one, when he knocked out Al Hassan. I mean, with a name like Chaos, I guess we can't. That was a welterweight co-main event, and I guess we can't really. I don't know, man. We can't really. There's not much to say about 30 seconds. You just have to watch a highlight. I'm surprised it's not on here. But that guy's definitely if he keeps performing like that, it's crazy how the guard changes in MMA. It's just it's crazy how the guard changes in MMA. And one fight that I thought was interesting that didn't get enough praise before or after was Kanako Murata. She got a unanimous decision against Randa Marcos, but that's definitely somebody to watch. She came from Invicta, and again, you always hear me talk about how fighters coming out of Invicta and all the regional promotions is something that folks need to start kind of paying attention to. They don't pull them out of thin air, and they don't all come off of the Contender Series. I mean, if they do come through the Contender Series, it's because they were fighting on these promotions that they caught the eye of Dana White and Sean Shelby and everyone else that's involved in those decisions at the UFC. So that's why Fight Pass is still around for folks that have argued about ESPN Plus versus Fight Pass. I mean, the future of the sport is going to come from Cage Warriors. That's where McGregor came from, Cage Warriors and things like that. So shout out to the undercard strawweight Kanako Murata as I scrolled through it, and I'm just trying to see, again, I saw somebody say, that Williams KO brought some life to the card that carried a lot of decisions, but not all of them are going to be cards of the year. You know what I mean? So you can't hate on that. Really, I just it's tough enough moving forward with everything going on, and these guys trying to find ways to not only do their camps safely, but and with avoiding injury and stuff like that, they have to now try to train in bubbles themselves and avoid, contracting this virus. A positive test could, potentially delay not just the fights but extend their camps, probably cost them some money, because if they miss the fight, then they lose money, and it's probably extending a camp is, that stuff comes out of there. If you've played the UFC 4 EA video game, they kind of added that part of like camp costs and stuff like that, because that's the reality of the sport. Unfortunately, that's why you see the stuff about fighter pay and things like that pop up all the time. So as we work our way backward, that was UFC. I mean, you could, again, the results are up on MMAnews.com. As we work our way back to through the weekend, of course, bare knuckle. We don't have anything up there about bare knuckle, but I highly recommend you check out the highlights from the BKFC 14. There was a 3-second knockout where the winner just launched himself out of. Let me see if I can find that. Because that's. Let's see, bring that up without blasting you guys' eardrums out. The knockout of that night. I watched the prelims as I did with the podcast I normally do. Here, of course, is the first thing up there. Let me. It's the first thing up. Let me bring this up. MMA Gone Wild has. Is this it? No. Why did I bring up that one? Jesus Christ. Sorry. I'm going to bring up my Twitter feed just so you guys can see it. Crazy knockout. BKFC 14, so it's worth mentioning. There we go. Check this out. Oh, he slowed it down too. Look at this. Or was that just my lousy laptop? 6 seconds. And he look at that, 6 seconds. He comes with a right straight. Oh, it's not. Let me stop sharing this. Knocks him out and then launches himself right out of the cage after he celebrates the win. That's craziness. That's craziness to me. But yeah. So you know, it was funny when that there was a fighter on that card that made a quick turnaround, and the I forget his name because I was recording the podcast, Coast to Coast Combat Hour. We did it on Friday night as the prelims were playing on YouTube, so we were watching it and doing the podcast. And my co-host pointed out that the first fight on the card, he had fought on the previous card, so it was a quick turnaround for him. And then it turned, his knee blew out like not long after the first round started, and he couldn't continue. I think I forget if they called that a no. I'm pretty sure it was a TKO due to injury or something like that. But you know, BKFC's crazy stuff. So if you're a fan of knockouts, when guys just throwing hands, you know, BKFC is definitely right up your alley. But let's go into Bellator 252. The results again; those are up at MMAnews.com. And I wanna. A bubble came out of my mouth. Let me see if I can bring him up here, because the tournament advancement that happened there was something that it's one of those things that it's literally going to be, no matter who winds up in the finals between AJ McKee, because we have 253 AJ McKee and Darren Caldwell coming up this Thursday. It's just going to be madness. Like, whether it be, let me wait for the page to load, because we actually do have all those highlights on there. I'm not going to share it because it's just taking too long, but I only have a certain amount of time to do this, so I don't want to go over like I did the last 2 weeks. But no matter what we get in the finals, we're in for a really great fight. And it's one of those things that it's just, first of all, Patricky Pitbull's win over Pedro Carvalho. That's just you can't argue anymore about where he belongs in the as far as the featherweight. You know, I mean, he's the champ over at Bellator, but the fact that he's winning and defending those you know, the titles there, I'm just there's no argument about it. I know Dana White said what he said when they asked him about it. Do you know, what do you think of Pitbull? And like, he knew about him, and he just said, I don't know, like he didn't know who he was. Not for nothing, this guy's been he's a featherweight world beater, and to get that first round finish over Carvalho in this in the quarterfinals of the featherweight world Grand Prix at Bellator, it's something to be said. Now you get Emmanuel Sanchez. It's going to be him and Sanchez next, and then we don't have the bracket up here, do we? I know Bellator shared their most updated bracket. And of course, one of the early nights that flooded early highlights that flooded the internet from Bellator 252 was Aaron Pico's knockout of De Jesus. And whew. Is this? I don't think this is correct. I'm sorry. I'm looking at what's on the website. It's John De Jesus. I don't know why. I guess that's a nickname he wrote in here. Anyway, I wonder if I can show this to you without making it too crazy. The other one didn't play that well, so let me see how it plays before I share it. If it doesn't play good, I had to mute it. It's playing all right. So let me share this with you so you can see it. I know you just heard the audio, but yeah, it's worth a rewatch. It's only a few seconds over at MMAnews.com. So let's check it out. Oh, it slows down when I share it. That's what it is. So let's not check it out. Just go to Bellator's Twitter or ESPN. ESPN featured it too. Awesome knockout. He bent him over backwards. McCarthy used the term he scorpioned him, which was crazy. So Aaron Pico's definitely finding his groove in MMA. You know, a lot of people want to write the kid off when he loses, but again, he's a kid. What is he, 22 now? There's nothing but room to grow. And he even said that the losses that he suffered guided him to what he had to do to get better, and that's how he found himself at Jackson Wink. I don't know why people keep asking him about if there's, about leaving the body shop. He said time and time again, those guys are all supportive of him. Like, I wish they'd stop asking stupid questions. I mean, everyone's just looking to stir the pot. I guess certain other high-profile members of MMA media created this pot stirring, way of making news. I'm not a fan of it, but the kid's got room to grow, and he knows it. He's acknowledged it. He wants to get back in the cage January, February. One thing he does. So talking about his losses, one of the things he said that he wants to get, if he can pick his next fights, he wants rematches against both Adam Borics and Jesus, the last two losses. I can't believe I forgot the name. Corrales. I think it's Corrales, but he wants to get back those fights and avenge those losses because he feels especially with the Borics fight, because he was kind of doing all right. You kind of saw the beginning of what he did last Thursday in that fight, and then Borics, because they know about his wrestling. The thing is, when someone comes from something, and I think I might have talked about this before, but when someone comes from something as prominent as like another martial art into mixed martial arts, so if they're great, if they're great boxers, kickboxers, they're going to look. Their opponent's going to look to take them down. If they're ground guys, grapplers, wrestlers, someone that comes from wrestling, jiu-jitsu, then they're going to look to keep the fight standing and avoid the takedown. You know what I mean? It's all about making someone fight your fight, but when it comes to mixed martial arts, when you can put it all together and make that happen the way that Pico did, he got the knockout. The wrestler got in. First of all, he's got incredible. We've already seen that he's got crazy power. If he's not getting knocked out, he's definitely knocking somebody out. And he's got there's so much is made of his boxing experience. His wrestling experience. People kind of forget that he's got the kid's been training at various combat sports most of his life, which is why he just jumped into being a professional fighter after his trying to do his Olympic run for wrestling. Excuse me. So it's definitely worth giving the kid some time to grow, because he's gonna hold a title. Maybe it might take 5 years or something like that, but for him, and he probably doesn't like hearing that, but everybody's pace is different, and he's high level wrestling, and then everything else comes underneath it. So he's just got to bring up those other. If you look again using the video game wrestling reference, if you're bringing up the health bars or the skill tree or whatever you want to do, that's what he's doing right now, and he's got a lot of time to do it at his age. The only thing is, if he keeps suffering knockouts like that, that's when you got to worry about brain health and stuff like that. So it's not so much a youth thing and time that he has if he keeps suffering losses like that. If he gets submitted, which is probably hard to submit a wrestler of his caliber. But one thing he did in that fight too that I wish that somebody had asked was, when he took down De Jesus, he kept dragging him to the center of the cage. Most guys like to keep him against the cage so that there's just room to pound away. And granted, that's where he got the finish standing. But if you watch the fight again, because that finish came in the third round, if I'm not mistaken. Let me check. There's too much going on the website here. Slow loading. Where is it? Aaron Pico? No, second round. It was towards the end of the second round where he got that finish, and he definitely he definitely could have done like more damage on the ground, but it was there was I mean, credit to De Jesus, he did a lot of things to get back to the feet too. So it definitely wasn't an easy fight, but I mean the athleticism and stuff with Pico like that. I mean he was completely fired up afterward, but he dragged him to the center of the cage and kind of was just beating him up from all angles. You know, if De Jesus turtled up, he spun around and was pounding away from behind, and then if he went to guard, you know, Pico put himself either in half guard, full guard, someplace where it was safe to fire away. Matt Serra always said if in MMA, if you're in half guard on top, then there's really no need to pass the guard. All you do is fire away and rain down punches and elbows, and that's what Pico did. And obviously it added up. That's got to be a feather in his cap too, of getting a KO finish over a guy that's never been knocked out or TKO'd. So great for Aaron Pico. And we didn't cover it on MMAnews.com, but we're probably going to start doing that because they're on NBC Sports. Going back to the beginning of the 4 nights of fights, we had XFC 43. Now, it's their 43rd event, but it's the first time that they're on NBC Sports. It was the first broadcast of them on NBC Sports. And if you remember, that's where World Series of Fighting used to be. And I think the PFL started their first season before they moved over to ESPN, if I'm not mistaken. So NBC Sports has an interest in mixed martial arts, which is really good for the sport. The fact that they got themselves another MMA promotion with the Pro Fight League going over to ESPN shows fans that they're trying to add that sports to their sports content. And they gave so the prelims were on Fight TV, and then the main card was on NBC Sports Wednesday night. The thing I like about what they're doing is it seems like they're plucking away the best of all the MMA has to offer with the formats that we can get in. And so we know PFL does this season format. It's a tournament, and then you get to the finalists. You know, they call it the playoffs, and then, you know, those are the people fighting for the title at the end of the year. They have the title fight. So XFC has a lightweight and welterweight, and I think they have a couple other tournaments going on. It was their first event. The 44 is going to be in February on NBC Sports. So they're giving themselves enough time to bring these fighters back that won to fight in the very next event. But they have something they call Young Guns, which is kind of like their version of the Contender Series, where younger up-and-coming fighters. There was a fighter made his debut at 19 years old as a wrestler. I can't believe I forgot his name. Bashi, I believe. Anyway, the whole point of what I'm saying is the promotion itself. They held their first event. If you haven't watched it, there's going to be NBC Sports does replay the events. If you see that on your guide, make sure you catch XFC 43 because they're bringing all the cool things that are different from what the UFC does, which is just a series of cards, no tournament, no nothing. If you like the tournament format, XFC has that. If you like the Contender Series format, which the UFC does do with the Contender Series, Ultimate Fighter, you want to feature up and coming younger fighters. They have that, so you definitely want to give them. And then they have featured veterans fighting on their main card. It was Kurt Halabaugh and Andre Sukmat who were in the UFC, and they were the main event at there. And there was a strawweight with a fight with Taylor and Jessica Aguilar, who used to be the World Series of Fighting strawweight champion over at World Series of Fighting when they were first coming up. She was like the inaugural champ there. So definitely check them out because that's something to keep an eye on. And I like that they're doing everything that the hardcore fans like as far as what's different, and that we you know, I know the UFC has the best fighters in the world, granted, but it's nice to see different things happen, especially tournaments, because that's probably the most fair way to get fights to happen, and it kind of takes the work out of, matchmaking, right? You see some guys have the fighters win, they move forward. That's why the people like the PFL. But great event. If you haven't checked it out, please check it out. And I guess that catches us up for the week. Thank you again so much for those that watched that while I streamed this on my Periscope. But this will live, as always, on the MMAnews.com YouTube channel. Make sure you like and subscribe and click the bell notification for all our future content. I'm Ed Carbazel. Again, you can follow me on Twitter at Carbazel. And that's it for me. Make sure you can go enjoy your football, your Sunday brunch. I did this nice and early on a Sunday. So have fun. I'm tapping out. I'll see you next Sunday.